Welcome to Sister Sessions, a podcast where two sisters on very different journeys explore what it means to live spiritually in today's world. My sister, Jenny Fairbank, is the co-founder and spiritual director of Wisdom Pathways, a yoga and meditation teacher, and a somatic healer devoted to guiding others toward inner peace. And I'm Susie Gustin, a mom of three, producer and owner of Red City Live Entertainment, embracing life's joys while searching for deeper meaning. Together, we have honest, relatable conversations about finding balance, purpose, and connection in everyday life. So settle in. You are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to Sister Sessions. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sister Sessions podcast, where we get divine and real. My name is Susie Gustin, and I am here with my sister and co-host, Jenny Fairbank.
Hello.
Hi, Jenny. So today, for those of you who are just tuning in and not watching, we do have a special guest in our studio. Today on Sister Sessions, we are joined by someone who is reshaping the world of wellness and ritual-centered healing practices. Geno Mattioda is the founder of the Den Ritual Spa in Austin, Texas, a space to be known for its transformative blend of ancient ritual healings, modern therapeutic techniques, and beautifully curated sensory experiences. Geno has become a leading voice in creating spaces where people reconnect with their bodies, calm their nervous systems, and rediscover the power of intention. He's a creative thinker, a grounded entrepreneur, and a true visionary in the wellness world. And today, we're diving into how he built the Den, his personal approach to ritual and energy work, and the philosophy behind creating spaces that feel sacred, supportive, and deeply human. Please help us welcome to the Sister Session studio, Geno Mattioda.
Thank
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you so much. Such an honor to be here. It really is. I'm so thankful you guys are doing this, are leading the charge and bringing people together and having conversations. It's so important for all of us.
Yes. So I will, it just seems to be a common thread that we have to begin with. Jenny and Geno are no strangers. They are friends as well. So I am honored to get this chance to really get to know Geno better and share his experiences and life, experiences with our audience. But let's begin with how the two of you know each other.
Yeah,
Who'd like to go first?
Geno was, he came to Ruby Retreats. He came several times to lead his own retreats and rent the spaces. And we just had a good connection. And he's just so deep in his practices, and I am in mine. And so we have a kindred spirit of loving meditation and all things spiritual and that deep inner work that we're all doing, and he's just a part of my tribe. Just naturally.
That is so awesome.
Very lucky to be.
Yeah,
very, very fun.
Yeah, it's a great job. I swear, everyone. So we've talked so many times on here about the Alice in Wonderland party that Jenny had. And I feel like we just keep having guests on that were present at that party. And way back when that happened, I mean, not that long ago, I had no idea. I was amongst all these I just had no idea the power behind, the energy behind all the people that were actually in that space at one time, which makes sense because it was a magnificent evening.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was, Jenny, it was really neat, how I met you, because at the time for me, I'd been hosting some retreats, really just like globally. So I was in, unfamiliar places, and, in search of, well, a lot of times when we do something, or we look for an opportunity for this kind of life changing, this moving kind of moment, it's the pilgrimage. So we choose these far to reach places. We want to climb mountains and, and do all these things. And so that had led me to some really beautiful, amazing places. And but it had also led me to really want to do something that was close to my home. And actually, when I met Jenny, home, it was new for me. The state of Texas and Central Texas was new to me. Um, but and we'll probably get into this later. But a lot of times, um, when somebody's doing something that's very moving to them, it's very emotional to them, or very life changing. Um, they oftentimes find themselves in a place where they've never been, and uncharted territory. And sometimes that's the exercise all in of itself. But other times for me, it felt like maybe there's another way to do it, where they actually feel very familiar. Like when they look around, they see the trees that they see when they're in their backyard, and they see the sky that they see the familiar color when they're home. And so that was really what set my search, that led to Jenny, was that, like, how do I give people a place that is close to home but feels divine and it feels different? And that was Ruby Retreat for me. And so, yeah, it was an opportunity to bring people together in a beautiful place. I had no idea that the place came with Jenny as well. And that, like, by the time before Jenny had made her next pilgrimage, her next move, she was very much a part of why I was there. It wasn't just the retreat, but then it was that, even if it was just that, you know little bit of time that somebody was going to get to meet you, it was a big reason why we were there. Um, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably keep going, because in the world of retreats, let's just call it retreats for right now, so oftentimes you have this heart filled do gooder, and they're hosting a retreat with people who may be needing something at that moment that could impact the rest of their life. And they're like at an Airbnb, with like the there's no soul there. And that's not anything against like Airbnb, but um yeah, it's just,
Oh, that makes so much sense.
yeah, it just, the space is so, so important. And so, yeah, it was really special to be able to come together a number of times there together.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely changed who I am.
Well,
Mm.
that kind of leads right into, I mean, the space that you're creating, the den ritual. So let's talk about, sounds like you've kind of got some inspiration maybe along the way with that. And what else inspired you with this?
Yeah, just a little bit of background too for everybody listening, because everyone in some way is creating, and building something that's theirs, whether it's your home, or, a car in the garage, or a temple in the woods. Like, we're all creating something. And so a little bit of background as to where I am today is, I'm through the blue sky of ideas phase. I'm, through the, blissful tumble of, what it might be or what it could be. Um, and I'm very much in the execution like stage. Um, it's And so my discourse and everything at this point, just as a little bit of a background, is more practical at this time. It's more about, yeah, it's more just about delivering at this moment. And so, yeah, we find ourselves about 3 or 4 months away from being able to open the doors, our flagship location in the Clarksville neighborhood of Austin, Texas. And we are very, very excited. We have these 200-year-old houses that are in a very storied neighborhood of Austin. Clarksville is beautiful. From what I hear, because I'm somewhat new to Austin. I've been in town for 6 years, um, but Austin still has a very familiar thread to even locals. Uh, in other words, it looks the same, in relatively speaking, as to maybe how it looked, 20 years ago, um, and it's not quite as transient as maybe some of the other neighborhoods are. So there's a very deep root in Clarksville. really important to us. You know, the safety, security, familiarity of like a property is just kind of everything.
Hmm.
It makes my job like a lot easier. There's two big live oaks on the property. We took the houses all apart just to put them back together. Um, and uh, and so yeah, so when we officially open our doors, we're bringing a lifestyle, hospitality driven uh, wellness concept to the marketplace.
Mm.
Wow. Well, congratulations to getting to where you are right now, because that in itself
Thank
is
you.
huge.
Yeah.
And I will say that it's kind of funny. The first time when we had discussed having you on as a guest, and I was looking at your website of the I texting Jenny, and I was like, this might be the sexiest spa I've ever seen in my life. Like, you guys should see these photos. This place is
Thank you.
amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I think beauty um, is our one of our biggest helpers. You know, like when somebody stands in awe over the mountain view, over the ocean, like the beauty first captures us. Then once we're captured, then we just it unravels from there. And so I actually learned, a friend of mine, I always use this as an example, has a smoothie bar, and it's called Sun Life Organics. Khalil Rafati. Yeah.
Love that place.
And
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
it's beautiful. And um, you know, if you think back, uh, let's just say 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, going way back, if you saw like a smoothie shop that really had all the stuff in it that we wanted, like it was a hippie haven for sure, you know, and unless you were really understood what was in it, only a few of us were drinking those smoothies, right? Like it didn't reach like 10 layers deep to this 16-year-old girl who was just like wanted something to drink after school. You know, they were like, "Oh, that tastes gross." You know, "Pops, what are you putting in that?" You know, and I think that's one thing Khalil did really well is, you know, when you walk up to Sunlight, you always walk up to this, you know, kind of magnetic crystal. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it, you know, I've seen it a million times as I sit there. Somebody walks up, they immediately take their phone out and they take a picture. Then they, you know, they go in, they get their smoothie, and they come back and they take the picture in front of the crystal. Um, I'm not speaking to the group that's always perhaps drank this way or eaten this way or, you know, studied this way, but the grasshopper comes up, they take the picture in front of the crystal just because it's beautiful. They don't care that it's an amethyst. They don't know that it's an amethyst. But then they show their friend, "Oh, look at, I was in Malibu, I was in Austin, Texas, and I drank this smoothie, and the smoothie looks bright and beautiful like fruit does." And they're like, "Oh, in front of the amethyst crystal?" And they're like, "Yep, in front of the amethyst crystal." And the next thing you know, they learn that amethyst is a protector. And then they buy one for their neck, you know, and so there's these little like doorways that I think we can, as builders, that we can cue into, which is like make it beautiful. You know, what is this? Nature is so beautiful. The scents, the sounds, and it's not materialistic unless you make it, right? And so that's really what we're dialed into. That I'm, Susie, so happy that you felt and saw that, because I hope that first people just feel like that threshold is just beautiful to cross. And then we can get into the other stuff later, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to get into it. What's the experience to be like to be had when
Yeah.
you go to the den?
Yes.
Okay. Um, how much time do we have today? No. uh, it the mission and the vision for me has stayed the same. I really wanted um to bring peace to others through a space. I wanted to create an environment that felt healing and comforting and loving. Um, how we did that has really evolved. In the very beginning, um, for me, when it was a back of a napkin, I was learning a lot about aging and about longevity and seeing people in my own life like come and go on this earth, and pass on, and so you're like, well, wow, if we could like keep everybody alive forever, then this would be really great. And that's kind of like the biohacking world, right? It's like the man that wants to live forever, the woman who wants to, yeah,
Yeah.
live forever. And so some of those elements were kind of present early on, longevity elements, the biohacking elements. And then it was kind of like, okay, well, no matter how hard we try, we may pass, we will pass at some point.
Yeah.
So perhaps we better really pay attention to the spirit. And then that kind of led me down into the spirit world. And so then obviously I'm like, oh, well, we need that at the den too. And then, um, and then it just, the next evolution is really actually kind of what's most present in the den today, which is kind of like your intention for this podcast. I think you said it in the beginning. You said where we are both divine and real, I
Where
think
the
is like,
divine meets real. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and so, I think I realized in my journey was that I really need to be a support to people in how they live in this world. And that the divine is something um, that we get to practice while we're here, but that comes next. And so, how do we live every day in this world? And so, in that process, um, the space really like changed shape and how we spoke about it. Um, and it became very practical, and that's where the lifestyle word really came into play. It wasn't something, I think before I would have said an ancient ritual mixed with modern health, you know, for reaching your highest power, and those are beautiful aspirations. And I think also, you know, let's give people an opportunity to get really good at living, here in the world that we live in. Um, and so that also kind of brings me to the next little piece that was present in the space was that like, well, how do I give people a place to come every day and not, not just to heal, but a place for people to come on their worst day. So Geno comes into the den that day, he needs your help. Or Geno comes into the den that day and he is there to experience all of the joy that life has. And something I noticed with other places like ours were even the ones that were filled with spirit and hope for healing, um, they oftentimes like garnished the same response that like hospitals do, which is, well, I went there when I was sick, but now I'm healthy. So I'm going to go back. And that's kind of who we are. We're like, you're back and we're still here, And so some of my friends who are therapists say that unfortunately we're in this world where our clients have to break up with us because they moved through that period and now they are who they are. So they're ready for the next version. And we wanted to try to create this space where people could stay with us, regardless of where they were and what they're going through.
That is
Yeah.
so
Mm.
unique, and I love that so much. I love that idea of we are here for you no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter, yeah,
Yeah.
Where
I
you are.
love that. Mhm.
Yeah.
So what are some of the services that you offer?
So some of the services are, it's really very elemental. And so if it's been around for a few thousand years, then we like it. And we need to build trust just in general. There's so much information out there right now. The confusion that I see on people's faces that I love and that I'm friends with that are going, information is not our issue today, right? Like we have plenty of information. It's just we have access to everything. So we want to bring things to people that they can trust and that are probably going to be around for another few thousand years. Um, and so those elements are hot and cold. Um, Seems very unusual. Like, why do we have to create a space for hot and cold? And I think, honestly, I think it's because most of the world is conditioned. So we go from our conditioned house to our conditioned car, and then we go to the conditioned office, and we're getting a lot better. I think the general consensus is that the world is connecting with nature again and things like that. But so the elements of hot and cold, just sometimes there's a medical reason why we do that, and other times there's just a what another word for it, right? It's just it's there because um it creates, a different feeling for us.
Hmm.
And um and so, yeah, I think being able for us to be able to communicate both of those, because we'll have certain guests that walk into your house that they want to know the medical reason and the certain temperature that sauna is going to be at, and how many minutes they're going to be in there, and what they're supposed to do after and before. And there is a good answer for that stuff. And then others are coming in for the ritual, um, because that's just how they start their day, and they're not really sure why, but they feel good when they leave or whatever. So hot and cold. We believe in light. Um, Sunlight is still the best form of light, regardless of all of our beautiful friends out there that are making lights. But we believe in supplementing. So, or for like acute needs. So if somebody has an acute need for the face, or if somebody has an injury, then we can use light on the body. Um, so hot, cold, light, energy, frequency, and vibration are some of the other things that will make their way into our space. The touch of human hands will be really important. Um, People that work with the body work with their hands. People that work with our energy and our the system that sits outside of our body. The practitioners, you know, a lot of people in my
Yeah, that
mind
sounds like
are either
heaven. Keep going.
begin. A lot of people in my mind, I'll use like an can we use like an austenite? An
Yeah.
austenite that is really good at using resources. I would want them to say to me, "You want me to come to the den? I have the springs. There's the hill where the sun hits, and then I have the trail where I go and walk, and then I filter my water and my air, and my home is clean." Like, my answer to that would be the practitioners for that person, for the really resourceful person. um, we're working with a group of Ayurvedic medicine practitioners. There's three of them that work together. They offer a bliss therapy that's incredible. Dr. Neesha, who wrote an amazing book. I don't know if you provide like links in the show notes or anything like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Her book was life changing. I read it. It was one of those things when I read it that it just immediately downloaded into me. It immediately made sense. I know there's way more to it that I have to learn, but I love when there's those things you could digest and just kind of become it like immediately. And she does a great job of it's sometimes kind of like a scary topic for some people, because in the Ayurvedic practitioner, they use language that's thousands of years old, and it's from another country so oftentimes. And so Dr. Nisha did like a really good job of just like letting some of that sit to the side and like make it understandable, which I think is a theme in our space, right? Is that if you are a guru, the depth is there, and you could just go as deep and as deep and as deep as you want to. But if you're a grasshopper and you're coming in for the first time, do you feel like really welcomed as well? And do you not feel scared to take that step? Um,
Okay, I have a question for
so
you if I may
yeah,
interrupt. So as a
yeah,
grasshopper,
yeah,
if I were to come to the den, would there be like a guided experience? So I wouldn't feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. I don't know what should I choose? Should I say I want to do this today? Or would there be a situation where I could be like, oh, I'm a grasshopper. Can you give
yeah,
me like guide
yeah.
me through what I should do from beginning to end?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and it was really important to me. before I really knew what it was, I remember always writing like den guides, den guides, den guides, and I one time went on a trip with one of my best friends. His name was Eric Nixon, and he took us to Moab. And at at some point in the trip in these vehicles, we ended up on the at this perch overlooking what looked like somewhere between Atlantis and Mars, and just beautiful. Like you couldn't even believe what you were seeing. Um, and we were the only ones there. And we slept there, we cooked there, and I was just baffled because I'm like, how in the world, however many people are on in this country, however many people are on this world, and we're the only ones here. Like, how is that even possible? And the answer is a guide. Like we were with Bill, the guide, and Bill led us there, and that was the secret. And so a guide is so important. So we'll have like den guides. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, Richard, who was telling me about an experience like the den that he was having somewhere else. And he was calling out for that. He was kind of like, will you have somebody kind of telling me like
Mm.
where to go, and and so I think the guides will be really important. It's not a massive facility. We'll know everybody by name, and there's from a business, if anybody's listening who's going to open one of these, like I can use that language too, but it's like your CRM. That's your relationship management system that says that we know always when Susie comes, and we know what she was struggling with before she got here, and we know where she wants to go. And but I think something that else would be really important is maybe give people like this is my gentle side that I like is um I want it to be a place, Susie, where you would come and feel comfortable without a guide until you're ready for the guide. You know,
Oh,
it's kind of like when if you walk into like a store and immediately that person from the store starts trying to help you find something, you're like,
Right, right.
I'm just wandering again,
Yeah.
and so I think the simplistic nature of like what we're building, for example, would allow you to be in the space for 3 months, just going to the sauna, grabbing your tea, sitting in that chair, observing, going to your sauna, grabbing your tea, sitting in the chair, observing. And then one day you say, like, what's that room over there?
yeah,
And then the guide is like, she's ready. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
cool.
yeah,
What
yeah.
I keep hearing in all of this is community, because even the Austinite who is like, "Well, I can get all this out here and this," but what you would be missing is community, which we are all craving, I think, in a big way, to be with people more in a physical sense and to be around like-minded energy and be able to have events at your place. Are you thinking about that in this in a regular having regular events? So tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, I think it's leading the charge with a lot of the stuff right now. And one of the things that comes to mind right away is um, there was when I kind of embarked on this journey, um, I just kind of knew there was healing to be done. Like I didn't necessarily have anything specific within. I didn't necessarily have someone in mind on the outside. It was just like I think it was actually probably collective. Like I think I was maybe feeling something that was collective. And there was like a slight problem with that because if you ask God, like he will give it to you. So I asked to heal something, someone, myself. And so he gave me like pain in return. He answered my prayer. And so I would find myself in a room with 12 people who, just we'll use like some humor here. Like I needed to do 12 heart surgeries. in order for those people to be okay. Those are major surgeries. You're opening the body, and like I'm looking around going, there's not enough people here to do 12 heart surgeries, and it was learned over time through stumbling and fumbling for me that um, perhaps the best way is to have a really strong community and to make sure that that prayer isn't just to heal, but it's a life of peace and joy. So then when you ask for peace and you ask for joy, then God answers and he gives you peace and joy in return. And then we all help the ones who need healing. Um, and it's much easier to heal one with 11 other able bodies like in the room. And so I think um, that's just a that's just something that won't be written in our like advertising or marketing, but it's just something deeper that lives within me, that is just realizing that the best way to heal is through other strength. Um, for example, in the world of that I've noticed, it's come to our tables in the U.S., which is the medicine healing and the plant medicine healing. And oftentimes, it's a facilitator or somebody with an inspiration that goes out and says, I'm hosting the healing. And who's going to answer that call? It's usually the ones that are in most need, because it's a major undertaking. And so um, even if they do everything perfect, and even if they follow all of the codes of the ancient ritual, um, it won't quite be what was when it was effectuated in the ancient culture, or in the culture where it came, because most likely it happened within the tribe, or the family, or the community, um, and there was aunts and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters, so that when we all went and sat together as a family in whatever ritual it was, Susie and Jenny already knew what Geno was going through. They knew it.
Right.
They had a whole lifetime of knowing.
Right.
So when that thing came up, they were then just there to hold it. And in fact, you the collective group then wasn't all trying to walk out with a grand slam home run for themselves, right? It was like, is tonight Jenny's night, or is it Susie's night, or is it Geno's day?
Right.
And then they held the room accordingly. And so then we can do that at the den on a more in a more practical level with the community, because
Yes.
we're used to seeing Jenny smile, but then she comes in that day and it's a little dimmer, maybe even just a glimmer. The community would know. So yeah, so that community is so important. Um, to answer more from the den context, um, we have food and drink. And we're not a restaurant, but we have food and drink. We're working right now at an amazing chef who's done all kinds of stuff, and he was really in he had a desire to like do something that was really aligned with his lifestyle and his way of living. And I'm just so excited about it. And so we'll bring. We don't have alcohol, but we have beverages, and the beverages are fun, and they're designed to make us feel good. And that's what, communing, uh the art of the art of communing is just
Yes.
really what we're going to be about. And a lot of people have said, well, how do you lead a meditation and and then throw a party like at the same time, and it's really just following our natural flow of our day and of our week. And so if Jenny comes at 9 p.m. on a Friday, she's probably coming for the social aspect, you know. She's and I've always told people who have like maybe left an old way behind, that they don't have to leave their joy behind.
That's
And
right.
we really want to bring a lot of excitement. We want to bring a lot of music. When it's time to dance, let's dance. When it's time to pray, let's pray. And I think like that'll be able to be done through programming. So
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, it
Wow, I
really
cannot
sounds
wait.
I'm yes, I know. I'm like, "Okay, Jenny, we have to do this. I wanna do this together." This sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be back there. I was just there 2 weeks ago, and I
You
will
will.
be back probably in the
See?
spring.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
So,
Spring
you're
we'll have the doors.
opening
Yeah,
yeah, I'll make sure you're open before I come.
please. Please. Um, and since we touched a little bit on retreat and ritual and like the space,
Yeah.
um, one of the responsibilities I feel like we really have is we've gotten haven't we gotten better at retreating again, like as a whole? Like
Yes.
I feel like we're getting better, like we're taking time and we're not like calling it vacation anymore all the time.
Mhm.
And um man, the people that I've seen take trips intentionally to serve them or their families or the their people and themselves has grown. But what I kept encountering was that like the phone would ring 3 months later and they'd be like, when's the next retreat, you know?
Yep. People are craving
Or
that.
they'd call and say, that feeling, it's gone.
Yeah.
I don't have, and so I've like, we really, really want to be that like integration. We want to be where you go in between the retreats. And so I really thought I was going to be far in the woods away from it all. And it led me right back into the heart of a city. And I realized that that was the mission. That was the gift, right? Was that we had to be somewhere that was accessible so that when we were having that day, good or bad, that it was within reach, that we didn't have to take a pilgrimage to get there, that we didn't have to travel to get there. And so that's really actually how the den was born. Was like, what do we do to serve somebody like on a daily basis? Yeah.
Mhm. And you've had this vision for years. I mean, I don't when did it start? I'd love to
Yeah.
know for you because I met you, I believe in 2019, and, you told me about it then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So a couple things for me. I'm a father of four. My wife Katie and I had four kids who are now 17, 16, 17, 15, 12, and 9. And so I was living in a busy city, being a busy father. And um I had heard that somebody took on a really amazing trip to the jungle. And and I really knew I was ready and I wanted to go. Um, but I couldn't go. There was no chance. There was no chance in my life that I was leaving in that moment. And it wasn't even outside of it doing something to save my life, which I would encourage someone to do. There was no reason I should have left. So, so for good reason, there I was just at my house with my family and with the obligations of the everyday world with my job. And I needed to get on the train the next day at 6 a.m. and walk my, mile to the office. And so at the time I thought, oh my gosh, I am losing out and I am missing out because I was reading books where everyone takes a pretty amazing pilgrimage. So I'm like, I'm like, gosh, like, it's unfair. I don't have the money to do that. The trip that these guys were taking was $12,000, all this stuff. And man, I got a bunch of amazing opportunities I didn't realize at the time were these gifts. So the first one was this trip to Moab that I spoke of. And so I was with these group of men and they were all incredibly successful. And one was the president of this, and the other one was the CEO of this, and the founder of this, and all these things. But when we got around the fire, there was a lot of stuff.
Real comes out.
And and it all starts to come out. And so at the time, I was going through a moment of I was like beginner's inspiration. right? So like
And
just like
diving.
a baby deer. Just my legs are just like so they see this and then they're like, well, what are you doing there? Like, were you sitting like that with your legs crossed? Or, what were you pouring into that, cup or whatever, just curiosity. And so then as I left that trip, I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like you just need to get people away for a minute and then their curiosity comes back. And by
Oh,
the end, they were sipping tea and meditating. But then again, they called a couple months later and were like, where'd that? It's gone. It's gone. I'm not doing it anymore. So it's kind of like if you get a chance to go to Europe and then you come back and you're like, I'm going to drink an espresso, eat a big lunch, take a nap. And then like 2 weeks later, you're just back to hustling. So I started with like just recording everything. It was the podcast, like what was a seed, retreats kind of seeded out of that. And eventually that led to like, really wanting a place that was representative of of our journeys. And I'll make one more comment and I'll leave it at this. It was really fascinating that I just can't go another minute without telling you guys is that I love that my inspiration led to building this thing. However, if somebody's out there and they think that what we're talking about would be it for them, it, and that would just make them happy if they could build a den in their town, um, you do not have to. So as I learned later, um, I could have all of these things that we just talked about the den offering, I could have offered from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed and touched every life along the way. And I wouldn't have had to build a space. That's
Mm,
not to say that we shouldn't have builders and church builders and temple builders and dreamers, because they would be not as good without it.
yeah.
I just really, really want people to know that if they are a carpenter or they are a barista or they are a lawyer or an accountant, that they can build the same life for others and themselves without ever building a facility or hosting a retreat. And yeah,
Amen.
yeah,
I love
I
I
couldn't
love
agree
that you
more.
pointed
And
that out. Yeah.
well, this is all about what we talk about on this podcast, where the divine meets the everyday, like practical ways to live in the light and take care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit, no matter what you do, because literally everything is sacred. We are
yeah,
sacred vessels and beings, and every ounce of this creation is the divine. And so if we start to see that through our eyes and wake up to the knowing that we are divine and everything that we do can and needs to be of service
Mhm.
through the divine, then whether we're a lawyer or a carpenter or any of those things, it's all a part of the divine and you are of service to the greater good. And
Mhm.
having that kind of mindset changes, will change, and
Everything.
is changing our world. People are waking up. And this is such a beautiful time to be on this planet, as we talk about often. I talk about all the time. We are in a great awakening. Yes, there's destruction happening in ways that need to be, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what we can create and build like you are, Gino. And it couldn't be more perfect that you're doing this in the middle of a very busy but
yeah,
thriving city.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
I had this very exact experience. There's a group of guys in Texas that that go drink beer and play golf once a year. And on the surface, it's just like Coors Light and golf in Praha, Texas. Okay. Um, and it is everything, but that, by the way, it is, but my like, I was overwhelmed when I got done because of like what I experienced there, because I'm so deep into the research and development of our space and community, um, social feeds, your Instagram feed, your Facebook feed, like everything starts to just resemble each other. And that's a good thing because of that, I'm with you guys, I would say. Like, so it's positive. And it also creates like another thing, which is like, oh my gosh, like you don't meditate for 45 minutes. I meditate for 45 minutes. You're only meditating for 5. And, you know, oh, you put that in your water. You don't put this in your water. And, or you believe in that God. I believe in this God, and then there's this competition. I saw like an amazing humor piece on this recently where they're in their like share, when we have a circle and we share, whether it's a women's group or a men's group and each person was competing with the share. Like, 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 he used way deeper language in his share and it was
Yep.
just like, if it's true, then it's true humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like non-community building, non-spirit building moments that happen if you're too in your circle. And so
That
this is
sounds like
like
a
maybe
virus.
something that yeah,
Some sort of virus
yeah. Like
within.
I'm thinking it is.
Hmm.
That's probably very true. Um, yeah. And I'm like in
I
this
mean,
ranch in Providence. Yeah.
yeah, I would
Go
say
ahead,
as
Susie.
someone who, starting this podcast with Jenny and, really wanting to delve into the spiritual world. Again, I called myself earlier, described myself as the grasshopper. And I have the people that we have been blessed, like yourself, to have come on here and share with us. I've never one time felt less than or intimidated by learning about this world and growing into so much more, and never felt one time any type of, oh, that's just little Susie, she doesn't really know what she's talking about, or because that's makes ridiculous. It's spirituality, it's love, and so fortunately that sounds like a virus, because I have not experienced, in all the growth that I'm learning and growth and learning that I'm going through, I've never felt one time less than. So that's very unfortunate that there are people that are trying to be in comparison
I
in
know.
such a beautiful space.
It's such a beautiful space. Yeah.
Well, it's humanity, it's egos
Yeah.
get in the way. We're still working
Yeah.
with those. And, you know, most of the people that we brought on this podcast, Susie and or I know, and all of my dear, friends are in this world because that's who I vibe with.
Yeah.
And so they're not in that space, but there are a lot of people who it's very difficult, and sometimes the bigger they get in terms of their following and these kinds of things, the more their ego can get caught up in it and then can turn very distorted.
Yeah. 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 Like the beginner's mind is just the best. Um, we after so I'm with these group of it was 20 men, and I've had to like comb the earth to get 20 men away for 4 days,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
because they're like, "Oh, well, I'm too busy. I'm a father. I run a business. I do this." So, and it's not just men. This trip happened to be men. All of us in general have it's hard. And but I'm starting to wonder here if there's like an opportunity somewhere to meet people where they are. Because if you position it as a beer drinking golf trip, then you've got them all there.
Exactly.
And there's a new tradition that has emerged, and they call it tea time. Okay. Which is I don't think we intended it to be a pun, but right when you play golf, there's tea
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with drinking alcohol in a beautiful way, and I just really don't anymore. So it's not like a big part of like my thing, you know. Um, and so at the end of the night now, in one of the cabins, we gather for tea time, and we're there to spill tea, say things that we haven't said before to other men, and to drink tea, and the curiosity and openness from these men who've just been hanging out with their boys, drinking some beers and playing some golf is moving. It's incredible. And they actually, if given the opportunity, they can't wait to share something that they haven't shared with they've spent thousands of hours with these guys. They grew up with them. They went to college with them. Like they're deep in their roots and connections with these men. But it was me pouring the tea and then one of the other men saying, go ahead and share something that you think you might need to share, and it won't leave here. And the first year there was 3 of us out of the 20. The next year there was 6, and we had a moment this year where it was, you know, every guy in the camp. And and I was just like so inspired. And I was thinking about how maybe one of my challenges going forward are to step like outside of, you know, my world and into other worlds. Um, and I thought, oh man, wouldn't it be a cool retreat if like we just infiltrate the other gatherings, like the shopping trip for a group of women who always go see Ole Miss play and then they go shopping or something, you know, whatever, or the men who go on that fishing trip every year. Um, but then you bring it to those things where they're comfortable. Again, like, would we get the most out of these men if we try? Would we get all 20 of them to come to the yoga retreat? There's just no way we couldn't get them there.
It's a
And then they maybe they feel uncomfortable or, you know, but what if we brought Jenny to the golf trip? You know what I mean? What if
Right.
we brought us to the moment? So yeah, a couple of ideas came out of it. One of them was like meeting people where they are. The other one was the beginner's mind and how I just want to keep staying true to that, like myself, and just being so curious and not feeling like I have to know the answer. You know,
Yeah.
like my friend Matt Lilly, he was like, so like, what are you doing there with that tea? Like, what is that? You know? And at one point, all I did was pull out this like essential oil, you know, but to him, it was like, but like in some circles in Austin, if you don't know what that essential oil is, like you might be kicked out of the room. Like, and I'm being a little bit funny, right? But
Right.
like it might
Right.
feel that way to some people.
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
That's a really big thing that, my business with Wisdom Pathways and Stephen is meeting people where they are, you
I
know,
love that.
and it's one of our slogans, and, you know, your way forward is our main one, but, like, meeting people where you are is huge because wherever you are is perfect. And so how can we take one little step forward, whatever that looks like for you? Drinking tea and, you know, the simplest things can open up your world, and that's why even with the westernized yoga practice, which I started, you know, my first teacher training in yoga was with Yoga Fit 20 years ago, which was because I was all about fitness. And so it was, okay, this is another way to work with my body and breathe and stretch and move. And then when I started really diving into the philosophy, you know, my world opened up like crazy. And but people need to start somewhere, right? That's how I was got entered into that world. And a lot of people the same way in this Western culture, oh, it's a fitness class. And so then they realize, wait, I'm feeling so much better in other ways, not just in my body when I take a class like this. And so it's that slow opening, the gradual awakening of our soul wherever it is that we can kind of start that process. for wherever that is. So I love that you're talking about this and you're doing this, especially with men. I think men
Yeah.
need it so desperately in a different way than women do. Because women easily gather, go shopping, talk, and go deep. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, and Susie, you may have this experience, and you may have this with your wife, where you get off the phone, like a man gets off the phone with their best friend,
Yeah.
right? And the wife will say, how's the family? How's the kid? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We didn't talk about that. We talked about the football game last night. We talked about the baseball that's going on. We talked about, garden, like not about like deep stuff like we would. We would know how the kids are, what's going on, you know? And so
Every time.
men need that outlet. They need to, would you say, Suze?
Every
Every
time.
time.
Every time. Yes.
Hmm.
Every
Yep.
time. So to have that kind of space, hold that space for men to be able to be vulnerable, to cry, to share something they never would. I want to throw my husband into that space.
Yeah.
It's so needed.
Yeah.
Did you, Gino, did you
Yeah.
have like a
Thank you
specific
for that.
teacher? I know, yeah. Did you have a specific teacher or mentor that really catapulted you into this, spirituality and feeling the sense of community and
I think I always um I always think about that. I would say mine has been very much a part of like like just my everyday life. Um I grew up in a very loving home, and my mom, I'm very very close with my mom. I didn't leave her side. And then had very strong father that eventually I didn't leave his side. And so great examples. um I was very close with my grandparents, aunts and uncles, older cousins. um so very much like that was like my foundation, I would say. Was this love and family. um and then from a spiritual standpoint, there was just like my family was like wonderful examples, and they were very strong in their faith. Um, I would just want something like more even. um, which is just crazy to say. It was just, I think I was just very, very curious. Whereas like, my grandfather, how could I say that I wanted something more? My grandpa, we went to church every day. But I think I was just destined to kind of like want to know it all, like try to know it all. Um, but my mom always said, which I thought was really good advice. She said, because I think I was very young and my kids were very young, and I said something about, well, I don't know if I'll teach him this. I think I want to teach him everything or something like that, and she said, "How did you get that curious?" And she said, one somebody taught you a way.
hmm
Mhm.
So that might be like a good message to parents too, that if, like it's okay to teach them. Maybe your family has a certain religion or way that you've all followed, and um and maybe you've gone somewhere else, but to be able to give that child that foundation of belief could then be the seed that they need for whatever their spiritual journey looks like. And so like for me, I think that was the case. um and then I read every book possible for 10 years. So that became my next teacher, the books. In fact, I have to tell this story because Jenny, you're a part of it. I read every book for 10 years. I didn't understand why I wasn't like, retaining everything, because I was reading everything. Um, in fact, I had a really good teacher at one point give me this one book, and the book was called like something of our desert fathers. Um, and this is a contrast to reading every book. This is the story of a contrast to reading every book. These men and women would travel through the desert. It was shortly after Jesus, and they would meet these abbas, they would meet these fathers in these very deep monk-like locations in hopes to get a word. And sometimes they'd be turned away, and other times they would be let in. And when they were given a word, it was like a paragraph. And then they would sit on that paragraph for another 10 years until they could get to an Abba again. And I'm like, that might be helpful for some of us, to sit with the word instead of being inundated with words.
Yeah.
And, but the books were so helpful, and
Yeah.
I loved all of the teachers along the way. I loved Eckhart, and I loved Ram Dass, and I loved um, just the greats, all of the greats. Bhagavad Gita, I loved, all the things. It all led me back to the Bible, which was funny. Like it was like, oh, read all of them and then come back to the one that was always sitting next to your bed. And so that was really interesting. The story I wanted to tell about Jenny was that I had like come to this conclusion that I was going to set the books down. And I was just doing a check-in with you, I think. I was probably forgot something at, at the ranch or something. I always forget stuff. And so anyways, Jenny's like, I don't know how it came up, but she said, have you read Autobiography of a Yogi? And I was just chuckling all the way home because I was like, you just got done saying you weren't gonna read. And it was one of the greatest gifts that anyone's ever given me, because at the time I very, 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 very much absorbed that text. And it was a number of things. It formed the den, in a way, because
Mm.
I saw the way that they would commune uh, in the ashrams, and that I noticed that some days it was a noisy kitchen, and other days it was a deep state of divine prayer, and in other days there was music playing and they were singing and dancing, and other times they were healing somebody that was sick. So that was really helpful. And then also I was coming back to Christ consciousness and Jesus Christ, and here was Yogananda speaking to Jesus like a supreme yogi, and I
Mm.
was like, nobody ever told me I could do that, and so it was just so profound and so beautiful. So that's a big, big thank you. Yeah, that you put that book in my hand when you did. So those are kind of like all my teachers. I think Susie was like, oh, and the third are definitely like the people along the way. I think one issue sometimes with s- um, some of the great stories that we hear is that like we're almost kind of waiting for like it to be like Yogananda or Jesus or Buddha, or we're like, when is that guru gonna, because all these other people got to sit in front of them. Like I want to sit in front of the next great, Maharaji. And but it's like realizing that they're showing up for you all the time, and they don't look like you would think. And sometimes they're like the opposite of what you would think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um Like,
Yeah.
you thought that they would have this robe on, and you thought they would speak in this beautiful tongue, and they're, like, smoking a cigarette with, like, a beer, and they're like, "This is literally the moment that
Mhm.
God gave you."
Yeah.
And, so yeah.
Well,
Because
you mentioned when you started,
God uses instruments.
yeah, you mentioned that when you were younger, you always wanted more. You were, I want more, I want more. So, how do you feel currently? How fulfilled do you feel with that wanting of more right now in your life?
Um, right now, um, less is more for me for sure. Um, I think that I feel like everything I ever needed is like right in front of me. Um, and that, uh, yeah, like you don't have to travel to the ends of the earth, to find beauty. Um, and yeah, the guru's probably at the coffee shop giving you coffee every day and you didn't even know it. And, you know, the the grass, the dirt, the sky, the water, like it is just all there. Like there's just no way. This is me being more curious. I'm not saying that this is the fact. It
Okay.
seems like to me that there's just no way that we were put here to have to like solve this like insane Rubik's cube,
Right.
of a like, how does the what does the body need to be healthy? Like, there's just no way. Like, it's just we shouldn't need like a 20 panel test, to know like how to survive. Um, and so that's like the place that I'm in right now is just like really trying to understand that like everything is right. I think that's where my one inspiration came with the like, you don't have to build a facility speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
Mm.
if you want to save the world, then just love your neighbor. And then they love the neighbor next to them and they love the neighbor next to them and you just save the world. So I think, yeah, I
Just
think
got
the
chills.
seeking, but I know that I'm glad. I think we have to go on the journey a lot of times. That's what I missed out on one of my greatest teachers. I think Paulo Coelho from The Alchemist.
Yes, yes.
He's a romance spiritual writer. He's beautiful. In The Alchemist, right? He goes all the way to the pyramids, but the treasure was, where he started. And so I think we all have to take the journey. And we all have to take the take the journey. I think a lot of times we have to take the journey to find out what's right there. And I feel like that's kind of what I did.
And the journey is really within,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's what people are missing because they're thinking it's outside somewhere of themselves, right? But it's within. So turn your attention inward and all your answers are there. You don't have to physically go anywhere because you are
Mhm,
everywhere all at once.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of we had a guest recently who um he shared his very deep struggle with addiction with us. And he's currently a big yogi. He's a very successful restaurant owner. Um, but one of his struggles that he shared with us growing up was that he always wanted to be someone else. He wanted someone else's car, someone else's clothes, someone else's family. He was always looking to all that to then be at this point right now in his life where he's like, everything I ever wanted was I already was, but I was so busy looking outside of myself that I never saw it. So it's just that just really brings me back to that same idea. And he really beautifully spoke of that and how he went through it. Gino, do you have any daily rituals that you must commit to for yourself that you would like to share?
Um,
Like, do you get up in
yeah,
the morning
I
and have
think,
like this routine that is very vital for you?
I, I've basically I feel like I've done it all. And, obviously by the name, the Den Ritual, Gino believes in ritual. And I think the ritual is really at the top of importance for me. It's not as much like what you do. Um, and but at different times in my life, the discipline to follow certain rituals that someone passed down to me were very important. if somebody's going through challenge or a time, then like that discipline to set your alarm at 4:45 to meditate, because if you don't meditate for that 20 minutes, then somebody else is up. And then if you don't, uh, drink the water with the lemon and the salt, and then, before you drink your coffee, and then, and then just go through it all, I think like that taught me perhaps to not need it, but like, my ritual today, um, before I move on to my ritual today, I would say that following a ritual for your day um, is in the discipline to be able to hold ritual is an incredible gift, and and it really does set you free. What feels like a very hard thing to do, um, be, it creates so much peace in your life if you can maintain that. And And so, yeah, but for me, like today, I think it's just coffee, tea, and prayer. um,
Love it.
I it's rituals, and I just like little like cues for me are just like, oh, your feet haven't touched the earth or whatever. Um, and so when I take a phone call, I would just put my little bare feet, you know, um, on the earth. And so, if my face hasn't hit the sun, if I, food to me is a really deep ritual. I just really want to know where it came from, and who, where did it grow, and where did, I eat a full diet. I don't have like a diet, but I eat um, basically anything that came to the earth, as long as it came from it and it didn't end up somewhere else in between, or packaged in a weird way. But so food is very ritualistic to me. I really believe in going to bed at the same time if you can. I don't believe that like any one time is like necessarily the same for all of us. Like, think
Would
about it's like
agree.
animals. Like some animals are nocturnal, and like some of us are nocturnal, and but just try to really do, really normalize like your sleep, but don't be obsessed about it. And one of my favorites, I don't know if anyone's follows this, but um something that I've done lately is just realizing that rest and sleep are really just a moment of fasting. And so I don't really obsess over like the hours that I sleep, but I do obsess with that I've fasted for an extended period of time, not in the sense of fasted like food, but just fasted from light, fasted from noise, fasted from people, fasted from everything. And so if
Mhm.
I'm laying there and I don't fall asleep for 3 hours, um, then don't freak out because you're fasting. You're doing
Mhm.
great. You're doing great. Just lay there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real big problem for a lot of people that I speak with over, you know, clients, and many people will have challenges with sleeping and will really struggle to not get up and get on their phone or put on lights, and you don't want to do that. Just stay there. But that's hard because many people just don't have a lot of control of their mental uh
Yeah.
noise. Mm.
Yes.
I love waking up in the morning and not jumping out of bed. That's my favorite time to just sit there and just like say my gratitude prayers, think about my day, take some deep breaths, and then phew, let's do this. I gotta have a little talk with myself.
That's an amazing one.
Yeah. All right. So, Jenny, I think it's time for rapid fire questions with Gino.
Right.
Fake music. Let's go. Hear the
Okay.
music? All right. Gino, morning person or night person?
Nice.
Tea ritual or coffee ritual?
Oh, tea,
Sauna or cold plunge?
sauna.
Crystals or candles?
Oh, candles.
Your go-to grounding practice?
Sorry, as long as the candles are beeswax. Okay, next one.
Get specific. It's your show. Go-to grounding practice.
Prayer.
Song you're loving right now.
Song I'm loving? Oh, um, mm, uh, I like listening to this guy named Coulter Wall. He's like a he's like a South Dakota, North Dakota like rancher. Cool guy.
Wait. Most calming scent.
I love mint.
Nice.
Favorite place to recharge.
The river.
The den.
Jenny's like, you're missing your opportunity.
It will be.
Oh, oh, that's so funny. Okay, we tried that again. Favorite place to recharge?
The den.
Okay. One word that describes you today.
Love.
If you weren't doing this work, what would you be doing?
Loving people.
I love that answer.
Those were great answers. I love it. Oh my
Thank
gosh, that was so fun. So, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
thank you. You
Yes,
guys are
and I
amazing.
always like to ask,
Mhm.
what would you like to leave our listeners with today? Is there anything last words you'd like to leave?
Um, I would say, for all of us, um, just to maybe just to feel really happy that we are where we are today. And even if this day is really, really hard for you, um, to know that this moment is here um, on purpose to lead us to where we go next. And for some people that might be hearing this today, it's a really tough day, and these moments were given to you to lead you into the next place. Um, and for those of us who are having a good day, um, uh, it's here for you as well, and to love and cherish the goodness that you feel today, and and yeah, um, yeah, I think just really love in this moment, love in this moment and all that it is, and that it is very temporary, and so it will it will move and it will pass, no matter what. We cannot change that, and so yeah, um, I would say to love now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Jenny?
Well, this is why I feel connected to you, Gino, because love is always the answer. And love is what binds us together. And when we live in that frequency and we share our love with others, eh, there's no fear can't exist in that space. And so I just love that you said what you did in those last questions because that is to me everything. Loving,
Mm.
being in love with yourself, loving everyone and everything despite the challenges, despite loving them through the difficulties. Yeah, that's everything. So thank you, thank you, thank you, dear one.
Yes. Thank you so very much for coming on here with us today. I feel so blessed and honored. Your soul is shining. And I am just so grateful that we got to share you with the wonderful people that are joining us today. And to all of you that are joining us today, you know what I'm going to say. We love you. We're grateful for you. And we're all in this together. And don't forget to subscribe and like below so that we can continue to share together. And take it away, Jenny.
Yes, all is well.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sister Sessions podcast. If you found inspiration in today's conversation, we'd love it if you shared the episode with your besties, family, or even your favorite neighbors. We'll be back next week with more to share, but until then, remember, meditation is the key to unlocking your inner peace. All is well, friends. See you soon.